Okay, think about this. You get really fired up, right? To learn something new, maybe tackle a big project.
Yeah, that initial buzz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feels great. But then, life happens. Distractions pop up.
Uh-huh.
That motivation kind of dips. And, well, suddenly you're not quite in it like you were at the start.
It's so common, isn't it? Starting strong, but then finding it hard to really sustain it, to get the full benefit.
Totally. Well, today we're diving into a story that's, gosh, thousands of years old, but it speaks right to this. It's really relevant.
Oh, interesting. What is it?
We've got some parts from the Dhammapada commentary, specifically a bit called the Dhammassavanavatthu.
Okay.
And it tells this story about something that happened way back in the Buddha's time. But honestly, it feels very current.
These old stories often do, don't they? They kind of hold up a mirror to, how we still operate today, basic human stuff.
That's it, exactly. So our mission today is to unpack this story. What's the core message? And how does it maybe help us understand why it's so hard to properly, absorb information today?
And get to that deeper understanding. Yeah.
Right. It's not just a history lesson. It's got these timeless insights, I think, into how we learn.
Yeah.
Or sometimes how we don't learn.
Sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay. So where does it start?
It starts in this city, Savatthi, and you have the community coming together.
Right, like a town gathering.
Sort of, yeah. They came together, they offered alms, which is a traditional practice, and they had this amazing intention to listen to teachings. That's the Dhammasavana part, all night long.
Wow, all night. That's serious dedication.
It really shows a strong desire, doesn't it? A real thirst for knowledge, for growth.
But I sense a but coming.
Yes, there's a but. The commentary points out the big challenge they ran into. They just couldn't keep that focus going the whole night.
Okay, so the initial enthusiasm hit a wall.
Pretty much. Even with the best intentions, our usual human stuff started kicking in.
Like what? What pulled them away?
Well, the text mentions a few things. Some people got drawn back towards, sensual pleasures, immediate gratification, maybe.
Okay, makes sense. The lure of comfort or entertainment.
Exactly. Then others apparently got overcome by anger about something and just left.
Emotional reactions getting in the way.
Right. And then there were the ones who simply couldn't fight off drowsiness and restlessness.
Oh, yeah. Mental fatigue. That feeling when your brain just says, nope, can't take any more in.
That's it. So, you see, despite starting out so keen, many just couldn't stay engaged. They drifted off, physically or mentally.
It really makes you think about our modern distractions, doesn't it? What pulls us away.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is what happened next. The monks, they noticed this. They were discussing it later in their assembly hall, the Dhammasaba.
So they were debriefing, like, wow, did you see how many people left?
Kind of, yeah. They were talking about this collective struggle to stay focused. And then the Buddha arrives.
Okay.
And he asks them, what are you guys discussing?
And they tell them about the all-night teaching session and how people couldn't stick with it.
Exactly. And this is where he offers this really key insight into human nature. He observed that most beings, most people, are really attached to the cycle of existence.
What does that mean exactly? The cycle of existence.
It's called bhava in the text. It's sort of being engrossed in the day-to-day, the ups and downs, the worldly concerns, stuck in the usual patterns.
Got it. Like being caught up in the surface level of things.
You could say that. And this observation sets up the main teaching he gives them, which comes in these really powerful verses.
Okay, yeah, I saw these. Let me read them. Few are those among humans who go to the far shore. The rest of humanity only runs along the shore. And the second part, but those who practice according to the well-explained Dharma, they will cross over death's domain, so difficult to cross.
Powerful stuff.
It really is. Okay, So let's try and unpack these a bit using the commentary's explanations. What do these terms mean?
Sure. So that first word, apaka, the commentary says it just means few. Simple enough, not many people.
Okay, few. And then paragamano, those who go to the far shore.
Right. And the commentary is clear. This isn't about crossing like an actual river. The far shore here means Nibbana.
Nibbana, liberation, right. That state beyond suffering.
Exactly. That ultimate goal of spiritual freedom. So very few people actually reach that state.
Okay. And then the contrast is with Itarapaya, the rest, the other people.
Yes, the remaining beings. And what do? They just run along the shore.
Run along the shore.
And the commentary links this shore to the view of individuality, sakayaditi. It's like they're stuck on the edge, caught up in their limited sense of self and the world.
So most people are just running back and forth on the beach, metaphorically speaking, not actually setting sail for the far shore.
That's a great way to put it. They're engaged, maybe, but superficially they're on the shore of their everyday view of things, not venturing deeper.
Like maybe reading the headlines, but not the actual article, or scrolling past deep thoughts.
Precisely. It's that surface-level engagement, and the text emphasizes this is the majority.
Okay. Then the second verse talks about how some people do cross over. It mentions Samadakate Dhamma.
Right. Which means, in the well-explained Dharma, it refers to the teaching itself, the path that's been clearly laid out.
So the instructions, the map, basically.
Kind of, yeah. And the people who use that map are the Dhammanuvattino,
And that means?
those who live according to the Dharma. The commentary stresses this isn't just about hearing it. It's about hearing it and then actually fulfilling the practice, putting it into action.
So it's the application, not just nodding along. It's doing the work, realizing the past and its results.
Exactly that. Practice, integration, realization. It's an active process.
And it's these people, the ones who practice?
The Dhammanuvattino, yes. The verse says they paramasanti. They will go to the far shore. They'll reach Nibbana.
By crossing over what exactly? It mentions Makadayam.
Makahayam. The commentary explains this as the domain of death.
Whoa, sounds intense.
It is, but it's symbolic. It represents the whole cycle of existence, those three realms mentioned in the tradition, the Tebumika Vaita. It's basically the realm where suffering, defilements, kilasamara, the death represented by defilements, holds sway.
So it's the realm of being caught, the cycle of dissatisfaction and struggle we're usually in.
That's a good way to understand it. It's the world as experienced through attachment, aversion, and delusion. The domain ruled by death in the sense of suffering and limitation.
And this domain, Makadayam, is Sutta Dharma.
Very difficult to cross. The commentary really emphasizes that. It's not an easy journey.
Not possible.
Possible for those who don't just run along the shore, but who actively practice according to the well-explained Dharma. They are the ones who manage to cross over this incredibly difficult domain and reach that far shore.
It paints such a clear picture. The difference between passive listening and really active engaged practice.
It really does. And the story notes the effect this teaching had right then and there.
Oh yeah. What happened after the Buddha gave these verses?
Well, the commentary mentions that at the end of the discourse, many people in the assembly actually attained significant spiritual progress. Some reached the fruit of stream entry, Sotapadaphala, and others made similar advancements.
Wow. So his words, explaining this very dynamic, had an immediate transformative effect on those who are actually listening and ready to hear it.
Exactly. It shows the power of the teaching when it truly lands, when people are receptive and engaged.
Which I guess brings us right back to us here and now, and to you listening.
How does this ancient scene connect to our lives today? We're probably not sitting in an all-night Dharma talk.
Oh, probably not. But we are absolutely drowning in information, aren't we? From everywhere, all the time.
Constantly. And think about those distractions they faced back then. Sensual pleasures, anger, drowsiness.
We have our own versions, amplified maybe. The endless scroll on social media for that dopamine hit.
Yeah, that's a modern sensual pleasure, maybe.
Or getting worked up by online arguments, there's the anger.
Definitely. And just the sheer mental fatigue from information overload. That's the drowsiness and restlessness, right? Trying to focus when your brain feels full.
It's a constant battle to stay truly engaged with anything for a meaningful amount of time.
And this story, I think, really highlights that crucial difference. The difference between just letting information wash over you, scrolling, half listening to something.
Just consuming passively.
Versus actually internalizing it, wrestling with it, applying it.
Being well-informed today feels like it means more than just having access to stuff. Or even reading a lot.
It has to, right. Meaningful understanding seems to demand that sustained attention the people in Savatthi struggled with. It requires critical thinking, asking questions.
And crucially, like the verses say, actually practicing it, trying to live it out somehow.
Otherwise, are we really learning, or are we just,
running along the shore?
Yeah, just running along the shore of information, never really getting anywhere profound with it.
We can listen to so many talks, read so many articles, but if we don't stop and reflect, question it, see how it connects to our own lives, it just stays superficial.
This old story is such a great reminder, I think, that real growth, real understanding, it's not passive. It takes effort, focus, commitment.
Yeah. It's about choosing not just to hear, but to actually do something with what you learn, to live it.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be about that gap, the gap between just being exposed to knowledge and really deeply engaging with it, understanding it and letting it change you through practice.
Right. Those few who reach the far shore, they aren't necessarily the ones who know the most facts. They're the ones who actively engage and apply what they learn. They put in the work to cross over.
Which leaves us with a question maybe for you listening to think about. In this world absolutely saturated with information, what does going to the far shore actually mean for you in your own learning, your own understanding?
That's a good one. What are your modern versions of those distractions? What's your equivalent of the sensual pleasures, the anger, the drowsiness that keeps you running along the shore?
What stops you from diving deeper from that more transformative engagement with ideas or skills you want to develop?
Yeah, something to definitely ponder. So as you go about your day, maybe keep that image in mind. Are you running along the shore? Or are you finding ways to actually practice, to engage, and maybe even start moving towards that far shore of deeper understanding?
It's about making that conscious choice, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.